Greetings! Welcome to our show, Ghosts Are Near, where we discuss various aspects of the paranormal and paranormal exploration, and hopefully some explanations as well. I am your host, Keith Johnson. I'm also the founder of N.E.A.R, New England Anomalies Research. With me is my co-host and the co-founder of N.E.A.R, Sandra Johnson.
That's me.
Yes. And with us also is co-host Laura Casey, who's a member of N.E.A.R, making her debut on our show.
Our newest member of N.E.A.R.
And I welcome you, studio audience. How are you tonight? Very good. Excellent. Way to go. Now we're going to get right into our show because we have a very, very, very special guest who's just parachuted in all the way from Adelaide, South Australia. You've heard us, yes. You've heard us mention her before on this show, and we're very, indeed, honored to have her. I think she's the furthest ever traveled guest
I think you're right. Absolutely. Furthest traveled.
Well, with no further ado, we welcome the lovely Alison Oborn.
I'd just like to say I'm actually honoured being on this show rather than other way around. So
okay, great.
Great to be here and meet you all.
That's great. Now, of course, you're the co-founder of Paranormal Field Investigators.
Yes, in Adelaide.
Now, how did you first become interested in investigating the paranormal?
Well, I think that starts like a lot of other people where you're born into a haunted house or grow up in a haunted house. And I think you find a lot of people tend to have started there.
I didn't, but we want to hear about your experiences.
Well, it terrified me. It took a lot of guts, if you like, to start investigating because I really was terrified of the paranormal because we had such bad experiences in the first house. So, but once I got into investigating, you sort of get used to it.
Right.
And eventually you become, it's not going to do too much.
Right.
So
it's like getting back onto the horse, right?
Yeah.
So what exactly did you experience, and what age were you?
I was up to about the age of 4 or 5, but my sister's got it worse. He would play with the wardrobe doors. We knew the person who'd been killed. He'd actually been murdered one night on the way home from the pub, or the last owner of the house.
That's going to leave an impression.
So my mum knew him, or my parents sort of knew of him, and so they didn't bother them at all, but the kids were terrified. He used to just terrify us. We used to see eyes occasionally in the corner of the room, just disembodied eyes, and they'd just travel across the room. My sister saw that.
Makes
regularly.
You kind of uncomfortable when you're getting
we were glad.
there.
The kids were glad to leave that house.
I bet you were.
Yeah.
It's almost surprising after experiencing something that traumatic that you would want to get into this field.
It took a lot of courage to do that, but again, you also want answers for yourself. Was it real? Was there an explanation for it? So, but yeah, I was terrified of that house. Sometimes I'll go back and still can't walk past it. So it really had such an effect, yeah.
Would you, if you were offered the opportunity, would you do an investigation?
Yes, now I would.
Definitely.
Yeah. In fact, I might just be doing that because I'm going back to UK in a couple of days.
Oh.
And I intend to be knocking on the door. I'm not sure how I'm going to broach that one yet, though.
Tell them you know us.
That'll be a big help.
Well, I've got my little son this time, so I might just say, this is where I'm born. I just want to show him where I live.
There's an
break the ice
there we
way,
go.
So.
Yeah,
I'll get him somehow.
And it's like, this big smile and everything.
See if he's still there or not. So.
Yes. So how did Paranormal Field Investigators come about?
Well, we were with other groups, and it was just the way we wanted to investigate wasn't being done, so the only way to do it really is to start your own group.
I agree.
So myself and Jeff Forsh formed this group in 2002, and that way we had full reign of how we did things. And so, plus in Australia there isn't a lot of groups. We're pretty lucky still, I think.
Yes,
we're not tripping over each other in Australia because we're not inundated with all those shows.
Right, unlike here in New England.
No, I think there's only 3 in Adelaide that I can think of.
What's the average in Rhode Island, Sandra, for new groups forming?
Well, I think there's pretty much one on each street corner, especially now with the advent of all of the ghost hunting programs, Ghost Hunters and Paranormal State and Most Haunted, and everyone wants to be a ghost hunter now, and if you can't be accepted into one of the established groups, well, you're going to
just go out and
start
form
one.
your own.
And we're glad Laura came to us, too. so
you.
many
Absolutely.
ghost groups around.
Yes. I learned a lot from your class. That's what made me want to join your group.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you very much.
We enjoy doing those classes.
Well, I found out that I wasn't by myself, because I lived in a haunted house and needed some explanation. So
Oh, yeah, yeah.
when
Well,
I came
that's what
to your
starts a lot of
class,
us.
I found that I wasn't alone in this, and I wasn't crazy. This
Right,
stuff is
you're
really happening.
definitely not alone.
So
Haunted Anonymous. That's right. Well, my name's Laura Casey. I live in a haunted house.
yeah, you can get some strange looks sometimes, but at least I met a group of friends that understand this situation. So
And that helps. I think that's why a lot of
Yes, it
people
does.
approach the groups as well, is they just need people that they're not alone, basically.
Right,
Yes.
absolutely.
So, tell us all about what you've been investigating, the main things.
You're kind of based in sort of one area. You're focused on one building. I mean, I know you investigate
Yeah.
a lot of homes.
Yeah.
You have client cases,
Yeah.
and you investigate a lot of novelty locations, but you have sort of a home base that we're very
Like
interested in.
Our second home,
Yes, your second home.
which we've become very fond of. 6 years ago we approached the Adelaide Jail, or the old Adelaide Jail, which is our second oldest building in South Australia.
It just happens to
Which
say
just
this, right?
happened, somebody's given me a mug that actually does have the old Adelaide Jail on there. So
Popular
there you
place.
go. It wanted me to feel at home, I can
Along with the koala.
along with the koala. How can we not? And we only originally thought we'd do maybe a couple of months investigation there, and a couple of months investigation turned into 6 years because there was just so much happening there. They gave us the keys to the place. Eventually they did ask us if we would consider doing the ghost tours for them as well. So
Excellent.
we do those.
I know the place is getting more and more popular, correct?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. You get a lot of people. I think so many people ring up every day wanting a ghost tour. So
Right. But I want the world to officially know that this is the group that originally came into the jail and found all of that wonderful evidence and did all those nights and nights of research and
Make no mistake,
right,
they're the originals.
an
official.
incredible amount of hard work.
Yeah.
So thanks to you and your team, Alison and her team. That's who kind of discovered the Adelaide Jail, in my opinion. Put it on the map.
It was very good to have because we had full reign over it. We knew who was in there, so it's a bit like having your own laboratory, if you like.
Right.
Because we had full control of what was in, who was in.
And that's the type of location, from my experience, given those sorts of locations here in the States, jails, institutions, unfortunately, that are extremely ripe for haunting. And I know you're going to probably give us some examples of what you've experienced there and what other people in your group and maybe people taking the ghost tours.
We've had a fair bit. What's regularly seen in the jail, or what's said, is a guard, an old guard that stands in one of the sections of the jail. And we were videotaping up there one night, just on videotape, and we've got an EVP on there. Now, we didn't know we had that because we weren't actually listening on the videotape for EVP, and we were accidentally going back and listening to something we heard it, which meant we had to go over another 500 hours of footage again to make sure we hadn't caught any more. But it actually says, Sergeant Murphy, like that. Now, it's very clear. We know there's only 2 investigators up there, and it's probably one of the clearest EVPs, not because
I've
we
heard
not
it.
because
It's
we got
very-
it, but
A lot of
that
people
we've
in this
heard,
room have
yeah.
heard it too. We've been listening to it.
Yeah.
And, so it's very,
So-
very distinct, Sergeant Murphy.
The problem with the jail is a lot of the records were lost very early on. There was a fire, and a lot of records were lost to
dear.
fire. So we can't track down whether that's a name that he gave, but he is seen regularly. And we see shadow figures. We got on footage a shadow figure coming through a door. One day, one of our investigators had gone in, thought he heard something at the bottom of the section of the block, and shouted, "Hello," like that. And as he said hello, the door just went bang on him. Now, the door reopens, which is more interesting because there was no breeze that night, and you'll see a shadow figure actually flit through. Now, the investigator saw him coming all the way up, but the camera only caught him a short way coming in. But on a big screen, you can actually see it comes through before the door opens. So it's,
Wow.
there are a couple of things we got.
Now, there were 40 plus hangings there, correct?
45.
45.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. And they don't have, where they're buried right in the jail, they don't have the names on them, just the
All you get,
prisoner number, right?
prisoner number, initial, and the date you were hung. All the bodies were left in the jail grounds. That was seen as part of your punishment, that you weren't put in consecrated ground. You were there for eternity.
Right.
So
I wonder why the place is haunted.
Oh, there's a lot of other things, disease. It
A lot
was
of
just
suffering went
a
on.
lot of suffering. They
Trauma.
closed the jail down because the conditions were fairly bad in there.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and that was only in 1987. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
So, not that long ago.
No,
It was an active prison.
You forgot to do your Grant Wilson imitation, by the way. She was talking about EVPs.
Oh, yes.
And our audience might not know, even now, what an EVP might be. So,
Well, an EVP is considered to be a spirit voice, a disembodied voice that comes out on audio that you don't necessarily hear until you play the tape back. That's officially an EVP, electronic voice phenomenon. Should have had you explain it.
no, you did much better job.
we need to create a little card with Grant's face on it that we can just hold up.
Yeah, that's right. This is
So you
it.
can-
Officially an EVP.
Our official EVP explanation. Now, you're talking about shadow people. What is your take as a researcher as to the origin of shadow people? What is your opinion?
Well, a lot of people say, I mean, I've heard a lot of people say that because they're shadow people, they're evil, they're bad. But we've also done other houses where it hasn't been. And I've actually seen a shadow in a doorway while I've been sitting there, just moving around. But it's still got a very nice feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, what is a shadow person? How can we really say, you know? But I don't think they're all, personally, don't think, from
Well, I just figured I would
experience, that
ask
they're
you
all
for
bad.
Your opinion. Everyone has a different opinion.
The
on
one that came
subject,
through the
so.
door wasn't very nice. You've certainly got to feel that that wasn't. But as I say, I've seen them in other places where it really hasn't been a problem and it's had a nicer feel about it. So,
And do you feel that you're sensitive at all?
I wouldn't describe myself as sensitive.
No, but you can definitely, if
I can
something
feel if something
feels
yeah.
negative,
I think that's more because I lived in a haunted house that had that feel about it. And
Right.
I think it's a self-preservation thing. That if you feel it, you just know what it feels like. So, yeah.
Right, right.
But if
Exactly.
you describe me as clairvoyant, psychic, no, I'd have to say probably not.
I'm pretty much a pile of rocks myself,
So tell
where
us
that's
about,
concerned anyway.
how about St. John's Cemetery?
Ah, yeah, Kapunda, another great place.
Yes.
That's a very well-known place. That's got a completely different feel about it. Whereas with the jail, you actually become fond of whatever might be in there. And the place, Kapunda, it's just got a completely different feel. We did have one experience not long ago where we caught another EVP. And the way it's set up is you've got the cemetery at the bottom and an old girls' reformatory at the top. And you've got to drive up. And myself and another investigator, Amy, had driven up there. And for the first time in 20 years, I couldn't get out the car. And was the first time I've ever been terrified. I can walk around most places. And it just felt there was somebody standing next to my driver's door. I couldn't even look out the driver's door. Had the headlights on and a shadow, like a shadow person, actually walked through the headlights. And then there was a bang on the boot behind. And I said to Amy, when you get home, listen to the tapes, because we've always got ourselves mic'd up and we're always taping.
Right.
And she listened back, and we've definitely got a male voice going, sinners, like that. Now, the person who's supposed to be seen there is Reverend Martin.
Your old friend
Horns,
there.
yeah. I've got a love-hate relationship. Or a joke. If anything goes wrong, it's Reverend Martin's fault.
Okay. Runaway
Including,
now.
Yeah, runaway vehicles, you
Bull
know.
ants.
Something.
It's all his fault. Now, he was very strict in his day. He also had a mental problem, which we know about, because we do also check the history of the places, and we've got all the letters going from that particular church to the big place in Adelaide, or the big church in Adelaide, and they were very concerned about his mental health. They eventually abandoned him up there, and he died up there 10 years into mental problems. So he did have a mental problem. He was thought to be beating the girls to get the sin out of them.
Yes, right.
So it was
Purge
very
the
appropriate
sin.
we caught an EVP going,
Purge the
sinners.
sinners. Yes, right, yes.
So, but we put another girl out there 2 weeks later, completely different girl, different recorder, and we got another second EVP that said the same thing. You can hear it again, a male voice going, sinner, like that, so, which we found interesting.
Yeah, I would say that's very significant.
That's the one that
I'm
put the
very
hair
impressed.
up on the back of my neck.
Absolutely.
When you hear it, so, yeah.
How about things following you home?
Never
Say
had
from
one.
St. John's Cemetery, and
Yeah.
you never have, really?
No. Jeff has, the other co-founder. He had something in the back of his car one night,
Oh,
all the way
it's
home.
always nice.
Do
How
you?
can you tell?
I haven't. No. They all seem to be quite happy where they are. So.
So you don't really feel like you need to take any kinds of precautions at all, or to keep that from happening? It just
Privately,
hasn't happened
yeah,
yet. And
privately, I hedge my bets. Yeah, I will do a bit of my own type of protection work. As I say, we do keep the investigations on a nuts and bolt level, and whatever our beliefs are, we leave back in the car park. But at the same time, yes, if anybody wants to do protection work, they can quite welcome to sit and do it.
Right.
So, and I will do a little bit, I must admit. So,
Actually, many groups
Yeah.
are like that.
Yeah.
It's sort of on an individual basis.
it's an individual belief. It's just on how they want to handle it. So. Do a little bit.
I've heard that you had the experience of feeling as if you had something pass through you, pass through your
Yes.
body, an entity or a spirit or whatever.
I mean, I can't say it was something
however-
definitely, but if ever you wanted to say something had walked through you, that would be it. It was at the old Adelaide jail.
At the jail.
Yeah. We'd had a door opening and closing all night. Again, not a windy night. And at the end of the whole investigation, we'd given up the investigation. We were just packing up. And I was standing against the wall. And we've all had that little shudder. We all get it. It's a natural human body thing. You know, somebody's walked over my grave type shudder.
Absolutely.
Everybody gets it. It's a natural human condition. But this one was so violent, if you multiply it by about 15, 20 times, it was so violent that your head cracks back against the wall. And then every bone turns to ice. And it's horrible. And there's no way of describing it unless you've had it. I have found a couple of other people who've had it, and they said there's no words for it.
More than
You
just
feel
a
unclean.
chill, more of a
it's
jolt.
more than a chill. It took me 20 minutes to thaw out, and you felt like you needed a shower. You were just so unclean. But it was a very violent shock. Your head just went back and the whole body just juddered, and then everything turned to ice. So, and as people pointed out, I had been standing next to the door that had been opening and shutting all night. So
Wow.
we have had a couple of people on tours. 'Cause I didn't tell that story because it's my personal story. How do you back it up? You don't have the evidence for it. But on tours, I've had 2 people it happened to there. In fact, one guy had half of his body go absolutely freezing cold, as though something had gone through, and he was shaking
So
when
you
he
can
went
tell
to
them, you're
coffee.
not the only one.
And it's like, great, I can talk about it now.
And so, now that you mention it.
Yeah, now you mention it, I can include it now because I don't feel like a idiot. So, yeah, no, that's unless you've had it, it's horrible, horrible.
St. Cecilia's.
Yeah,
How's it going there?
going back to Kapunda.
Oh, good, yes.
Oh, St.
Wonderful
Cecilia's, no,
place.
Peterborough, sorry.
Peterborough's, yeah,
Yes. We've yet to go back there. We've got a few experiments to finish up there.
Well, you had some quite impressive results there, though, with motion detectors.
Yeah, we thought we'd try something different. A lot of people do EVPs and ask the same old questions. Is anybody there? Do you want to talk to us? Would you like us to go?
Yes.
And we just decided one night that, well, let's go on the level of the person who supposedly haunts the place. And we know he used to like a drink. He was another priest.
He was a
Seemed to get a lot of
bishop,
those.
actually, yeah.
who built the place. And we know he used to like to play cards, so we went down there, set up a card game, poker game. Poured him a beer.
Yeah.
We don't drink on investigations,
Drinking,
by the way.
card-playing priest.
Yeah,
sounds,
and we just
like a very
pretended-
colourful fellow.
Try something new.
Right.
And we just pretended he was there and actually played his hand for him and chatted to him like he was there, mainly for EVP. I'd put coins out, sort of drawn a circle around them, but didn't think we'd get much with those. I was more concentrating on EVP than trigger objects. And it suddenly occurred to us that these coins were actually moving, but it was so slow to the human eye that you couldn't actually... It's like watching grass grow. You're suddenly aware that they were off-centre from the circle. And while we were talking about that and discussing that, do you think they are? One of the coins moved across very quickly.
And I've actually seen the footage of that.
Yeah, it's actually the
pretty
paper
amazing.
that moves, and
Yeah.
it takes the coin with it.
Right,
It's
but
like-
the whole paper moves, and you
Yeah.
have like a speaker
It
sitting on
jumps.
it, you have a recorder sitting on
We've
it,
got a
and
recorder,
cup of
yeah.
beer, and it's just like nothing that would move if you just
No,
tried to
and it's
blow
an-
on it or something like
It's
that.
an A4 sheet of paper, typing paper, so it shouldn't have just floated across like that. It would have wrinkled, especially with the weight of the other items on there.
You did get footsteps walking around too, right?
That happened after we heard the footsteps coming across and coming down the stairs, yeah. Because I actually said jokingly, perhaps we've got his interest and he's coming down to join us.
That's interesting.
We did get a few EVPs there, and one of them said 8s, which meant nothing to us at the time, because we were asking him what card game he would have played in his day. And we got this male voice when we listened back going, 8s. We thought, what's that? And so we did some research on the internet, and yes, 8s was a very old gambling game.
From his
back.
day?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it was dated back to the 1600s, I think, so it was around when he was doing it. So he was...
How long ago did he live there? Was he there?
Early 1900s, 1920, I think it
Because
was.
you do have the photograph of him.
Yes, that's still hanging on the wall. So.
Yeah, very good looking man, too.
Very proud
You might want
looking
to
man.
say that while you're there, see if you get a positive response.
Oh, yes, we were very nice to him. So.
Hey, so while we've got you here, before we run out of time, this would be a good time to say hello to your teammates.
Yes.
Because we know how hard they work, and they're all such wonderful people, and I'm glad I've gotten to know them, maybe not in person.
Yeah.
But,
No, as I say, I mean, a team or the success of a team is only as good as the team members that you've got, and how successful they are and how well they work. So
I agree. Wonderful.
it's like if you've got good dynamics in a team, then you've got a good team there. So I'd like to say thank you to Amy and Anna and can't remember. Brett. Patrick. Megan.
Megan, yeah. Megan's your photographer.
Suddenly gone blank there.
Yeah.
I do remember you all, though, and I do thank you all.
Yeah, they are wonderful
They
people.
are.
I know.
They are a very wonderful team, and really, PFI wouldn't be anything without them. So.
Yeah.
And if your team can ever make it to the States,
Oh, please, please come
they
see
were
us,
wanting
please.
to get in the suitcase. Trust me.
we will definitely have them on.
You even have on-site medical personnel.
Oh, yes, we have our own chiropractor.
Yeah.
For when we fall over in the cemetery.
Yeah, that's Amy, and of course Megan's your photographer.
Yeah, professional photographer.
Yeah.
Patrick builds all our equipment and comes up with ideas
That's
for new
excellent.
equipment and
Yeah.
new ways. Brett's just joined us in the last couple of months, but he's got some good ideas as well.
That's great when
Yeah.
everyone sort of has a specialty.
Yep.
Everyone brings something to the table
Yep.
that is useful on an investigation.
And the nice thing is, if you ever sat down with them, they're all completely different people, and probably in everyday life wouldn't have associated with each other. But in a team, they just get on so well and work so well together. So,
That's fantastic.
It's
I've
great.
seen them on the footage, and
Yeah.
they all
All
work together
chip in.
so well.
We
It's
do.
just
We all actually
one
enjoy
big
each other's
happy
company.
family. You're not on each other's nerves and throwing things at each other and everything.
We look forward to working together, so
It's excellent.
which is always a good start.
Excellent.
How about other facets of the paranormal? Do you simply investigate ghosts and hauntings, or are there other facets such as UFOs, cryptozoology that you're interested in?
I did 10 years of UFO research when I first came to Australia. Problem with UFOs I found, which was disheartening, is yes, you can take a report, but the chances of it ever happening again in that place was very slim. So it became frustrating, where at least if you've got a haunted area or a supposed haunted area, you've got a chance of
The
it
ghost
happening
is going to
again.
come back.
It's got to come back at some point.
At least hopefully.
Jeff, our co-founder, who's now left PFI, he's actually joined doing the UFO side of it. So any reports we get now, we pass over to that group, and they're doing a very good job. So cryptozoology, Adelaide doesn't have a lot. Other parts of the country do, but yeah. But we do when it comes in.
Okay. Well, how about this? You know, I always throw this out at our women guests. I don't really feel that I need to ask you this because you
Okay,
are
Laura,
the
it's
founder
time for
of
ladies' talk now. I'll just sit back.
Secret women's business, as they call it in
Sorry, I
Australia.
just don't pay attention.
women's role in the paranormal research field.
Yeah.
How do you think that that's progressing?
I think it's going, well, especially in Australia, going really well. I know 4 teams at least that have women who are leading the investigation.
Excellent.
And their groups. Our team, not intentionally, but we seem to be mainly females. 2 males compared to 4 females. So
You got them out.
there's
no?
a
They're
lot
a
of
minority. I've got to come over there so they don't feel so left
poor
out.
Patrick was glad Brett joined.
That's great.
But yeah, no, there seems to be a lot of interest with women, especially over there, and leading the way as well.
Excellent.
So
And can I also ask you about your conservation work?
Yes.
We're going to go a little bit off the
Off track
topic
here.
here, but I did want to squeeze that in because I think it's so important.
Yeah. What I found, I actually relocate vehicles across the country, and through that noticed the dingoes and the condition of the dingoes over there, so I'll make it quick. Looked into it and was appalled to find on how Australia actually treats our dingo and is poisoning it, shooting it. It's on the vermin list. They've still got a $50 bounty if you kill a dingo and take the skin in.
That's terrible. See?
So our icon is, that everybody thinks is an icon, is being basically slaughtered, and the purebreds are now getting fewer and fewer. So what I'm trying to do is help the groups out there that are doing a wonderful job trying to get the information out there and try and get them protected, at least, so other generations can see it. So, but it is horrific what's happening.
Right, most of us
Yeah.
in America really have
Well,
no idea
no,
at all.
I didn't. I lived in Australia for all that time. It's only,
Yeah, a month ago when Sandra and I were at TAPSCon, the TAPS Family Convention, I actually did mention it to Linda Blair
Yeah.
because she's quite a conservationist herself, and because she had no idea of that any more than I
People
did,
don't.
that what's
yeah.
going on there.
Government tends to keep it a bit quiet. So.
But I must say
It's
you're
like-
doing a wonderful, wonderful job. I know you've set up a page there about that,
Yeah.
bringing awareness, and it is doing a lot of good.
I hope so.
It is.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful that you're doing that.
Quite passionate about that part of it.
Very nice.
Good.
Very good.
Yeah. Is there anything you'd like to give in the way of advice to other investigators, say in this country, your country, all over the world, somebody who's starting out in the paranormal investigation? Because we all make mistakes along the way. We make big blunders along the way. So
I
mean,
still do.
Well, we all do. You
I think
never get over that.
It's like we're never learning. And to say I'm an expert or anybody's an expert, we're learning all the time. You think you've got a theory and it changes because something will happen that will completely turn that around. So get advice first, just learn about it. Definitely. Maybe find a group first to join. Guess, yeah.
I like that you said that about, there being no professionals in the field.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer
There-
in
there
that.
isn't,
There
yeah.
are people maybe who've had a few more years
Yeah.
researching than you have, but there certainly are
Yeah.
no professionals.
That's right. And get on with each other.
Yeah, that's the most
only
important
way
thing.
that
Very
this
important.
is going to move forward in the paranormal field, and I see so much fighting out there, is just get on with each other. You can learn from other people work anyway, whether it's what not to do or what to do. The only way you're going to do that is to talk to each other and see what's worked. So, in Australia, we're lucky because the groups in Adelaide do get on, and we all network. So,
Excellent.
Excellent.
Unfortunately,
Keep it
we
that
have
way.
a lot of clashing here.
Yeah, it's very
I've learned that
unfortunate.
since being on MySpace.
We're working on it. And with that in mind, we'd kind of like to give you our contact. There we go. GhostsAreNear@Cox.net. If you need to contact us for any reason, if you have an alleged haunting, you have a show suggestion, you'd like us to investigate, you'd like to be a guest on Ghosts Are Near, like Alison here, give us a shout. GhostsAreNear@Cox.net, and we'll believe you.
Excellent. And we got to do the Jurassic Park theme for Alison.
We do?
You're going to sing it, though.
Just
because I come a long
Because she came such a long way just to see us.
Everybody
Everyone.
Everyone.
Alison, thank you so much.
That's
You've been a
fine.
dear. Thank you.
Thank you
did
for
a
having me.
wonderful, wonderful interview. And please come back and see us again.
Oh, no, I'd
I
love
hope
to.
you do. Really. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.